speaker today, Julia Herbst. Julia moved to Pinellas County, Florida in 2015 from a coal-mined mountains and gas-fracked fields of Western Pennsylvania for some sunshine. She loves exploring and protecting the water, soil, air, plants, and the critters of Florida. As a Florida Gulf Coast Program Associate of Solar United Neighbors, she gets to play both the student and the teacher in growing solar in Florida and native fuel for the future. Without further ado, here you go, Julia. I'm going to stop sharing and let her.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Before I share my screen, I just want to, thanks for spending your time with us. And it's just so nice to see people who are ready to take action. So this Y&How series is really perfect. Still asking me. Great. So we will get going, and it's sort of a little version of a bigger information session. Can everyone see and hear me fine? Can we get a little feedback from folks?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So thanks for that introduction, Anna. I just saw Path of the Panther. I don't know if any of you have seen that film with Carlton Ward yet. So it really gets me jazzed up to take action. And we're going to talk a little bit about what Solar United Neighbors is, a little bit about where you guys are in your journey with clean energy or your interest. And then we'll talk very quickly. We'll do a mini information session, but give you resources if you want to go in deeper or join what our current project is. So I'm with Solar United Neighbors. Like I said, I moved here. I just wanted more sunshine. I was used to seeing what coal does to communities, what natural gas fracking. I actually used to do stream sampling and water quality and waste coal. So moving to Florida and seeing this resource, I actually stumbled upon Solar United Neighbors at a sustainability matchup at a bar, really. And just the education of this organization really appealed to me as someone who's done environmental education and really cares about our places and our future and making really strong, healthy, vibrant communities. So Solar United Neighbors is a 501c3. We're a national nonprofit. We were started in 2007 in the DC area. We actually have active field staff in about 12 states, also Puerto Rico. We're expanding to Hawaii, but we help people all over the nation. And we're really people-based. We're not just about panels and equipment. So we're not affiliated with any contractor or any product. We're not a sales company. We're not an environmental organization. We're committed to education and consumer protection. So we're really about people, and we really view the value of people in a new energy democracy. So this is our mission. We help people go solar, join together, and fight for their energy rights. So a lot of people are here today to learn about going solar, but we have lots of policy work and certainly some social connection with people who are just interested in solar who aren't ready to go solar. But we really see, and we have a big vision of a new two-way energy system with rooftop solar at the basis. So we really believe in solar as being an immediate and local benefit to communities. We believe solar can be on almost any surface, owned locally and benefiting those individuals. I love the why and how. Normally, I usually say Solar United Neighbors can help you with, despite what your why is for going solar, we can help you with the how. But I do want to take a little bit more time to say about why. Obviously, you guys are here, you're climate related, you care about clean energy for climate, for gas impacts, for what it does to our water, our soil, our air, and our communities. Really, most people are interested in getting serious about installing solar on their home to save money. So these are just a sampling of some of the reasons why people go solar. You can offset your electricity bill and really stabilize your electric prices and your electric bills for 20, 25 years. With inflation right now and rising power prices, depending on utility solar, with natural gas prices fluctuating and 3 rate increases already this year, and it's not, it's March. it's a great way to secure your expenses. A lot of people just want to take out middlemen and use a local fuel source. That's amazing that it's local and global at the same time. It's abundant. It's available to rich and to poor, and harvest that to promote our own electricity. Also to reduce the pollution. I mean, so we don't depend on a gas line from Western Pennsylvania, where I used to work, for Marcellus Shale, to come down to some big power plant, and then all the wires that go from a centralized distribution system. And a lot of people just want to be in control of their energy when there's disruptions. So those are some of the reason why, and I'm going to mostly help you with how to go solar, and we'll have lots of time for questions. So I might be talking very fast. Just want to make sure you know we're talking about solar PV. So this is photovoltaic. Some of you may have solar pool heating, solar water heating, solar thermal, great technologies, great ways to save money. Today, we're talking about solar photovoltaic, or PV, which takes the sun's energy and converts it to electricity for you to use in your home. Very straightforward. People always think of the panels. Another word for a solar panel is a module. So that's confusing when you're talking about your electrical panel with your breaker box and a solar panel. So module is a word you might hear when you're talking to contractors. It's a little taller than me. You can't tell how tall I am, but think about the size of a flag, a little bigger than 3 feet by 5 feet. Sandwich of a frame and glass and silicate solar cells with a back sheet on it. We were lucky to go to the Jinko solar factory in Jacksonville a few weeks ago. We got to see how this is all actually made in a company in Florida. So very, very cool. But basically your panels go together with other panels to form an array. So when you think of a solar system, that's called an array, and that's usually mounted on your roof or in a ground mount like you see on the right. Putting this all together, when it goes on your roof, it's attached to your roof. You can see here an asphalt shingle roof, really, really common roof type. It's attached through a racking system, which is a series of rails and mounts. And this all has to pass local wind codes and make a secure leak-free attachment. So every piece of a solar system, and then the system as a whole, has to pass high regulations and testing. It can work on standing seam metal roof. It can work on flat roof. It can work on tile roof. So solar can work on almost any roof type. The attachments just vary, and they're all tried, true, and tested. The brains of your solar system, of these guts, is the inverter. And that's a really key important component, because the electricity that those solar modules produce is in DC or direct current. And the appliances in your home use AC, or alternating current. So the inverter is the thing that makes that conversion to make it usable to your home. And there's basically two types. There's a string or central inverter, and that converts all that electricity from each panel in wires all to one place, to this box that's kind of near your electrical service panel, and makes the DC to AC conversion there. On the right, there's microinverters. Those are little inverters that are back of each panel, each module, and they make it there. So it's combined together. The AC current coming off the roof is combined. The difference really has to do with whether you have shading. If you have shading in a central inverter, shading on a couple of those modules, the whole system will be producing at a lower level of the shaded ones, unless you have optimizers, which allow the system to be as most productive. Microinverters, then every module can be in the most productive for whatever sun or shade component is. We see a lot of microinverters right now, and there's some other things with monitoring and if you lose an inverter. But that's a really important component that you can learn more about and be knowledgeable when you're talking to your contractor. And then all these systems come together with the panels to the inverter into your house through your electrical panel. There's no need for switching. You don't have to do anything. It's all automatic. But your electrical service panel will be looked at when you're considering going solar, see if it's safe, to see if it has enough breakers, enough amperage, and its age, to make sure you can do what you're wanting to do. Maybe you want to add an electric vehicle, or you're swapping out your air conditioner or your water heater. So the electrical panel is something that you're going to be looking at when you're thinking of this process of going solar. So I'm not going to go through all of this on this sort of smaller version, but there are two terms that you want to be familiar with, and we can help you learn more, and that's kilowatts. So there's power and there's energy when we're talking about electricity and solar. Kilowatts is actually your system size. So a solar panel has a certain wattage. Say it's a 350 watt panel. 1,000 watts is a kilowatt. And that's what your system size is. So we don't really talk about how many panels you have on your roof. It's really how many kilowatts do you have on your roof. So that's where that comes from. So you just add the wattage of the panels. And that's the amount of power it can produce in one moment. And then kilowatt hours you might be familiar with, because that's what's on your electricity bill. How much electricity in kilowatt hours is what you're billed in. So that's the production. It's that kilowatt wattage over time. So on average, nationally, residents' homes install 4 to 12 kilowatt system. It's really based on how much electricity you use in your home. There's no one size fits all, and how much budget and how much you want to offset for your year. In Florida, believe it or not, we have really inexpensive electricity rates. They're going up, but relative to other states. And Floridians use a lot more electricity per home than other states. So we have sometimes multiple air conditioning, sometimes we have pool pumps, it's getting hotter. So we use a lot of electricity. So in Florida, we see the average size is much higher than this. So there's no one size fits all. To put it together, this is an example. If you have a 350 watt panel, and one of those, and then you add it to 11 more to make a 12 panel array. That's 12 times 350 is 4,200 watts, or a 4.2 kilowatt system. And that's going to be important to use because that's how we talk about the pricing. So this whole system goes together on your roof if you have a roof mounted system. And so Solar United Neighbors is an organization that can help you see and assess if you're in a good position. We're going to look in satellite imagery, or you can look at yourself and you have an east, south, or west facing roof. We don't recommend north facing roofs. It is possible. There's a little lower production. In Florida, we have some pretty flat pitches. So got lots of options. And then do you have little or no shading? It could be from trees, and it could be from a neighboring house. It could be from like roof penetrations or a chimney or a little parapet wall. And we want to make sure you have enough space. It doesn't have to be on one roof plane. It could be on a couple surfaces, but we do want at least 200 square feet with offset. So putting the whole picture together with those in this diagram, you can see the solar array, sun shines on it, excites those electrons, turns that energy into electricity in DC current, goes through your microinverters or your main inverter and switches it to AC current, goes through your electrical panel. And if your home is needing electricity, it's opportunistic. So it will use that clean energy right away, and you won't have to purchase it from the utility. So savings number one. If it's a day like now and we don't, it's not really hot, we're not using a lot of that electricity, it's making more than we need, that extra kilowatt hour, that extra electricity you produced that you don't need will go out through number 4, which is a two-way electric meter. And that is going to go out, be measured for 1 unit, and then go into the grid. These are all grid-tied net metered systems, and it's going to go right to your neighbor, and the utility is going to sell that to your neighbor at a retail price. So you're really helping the grid and the people around you by providing clean electricity at really high production times. So when that happens, you actually get a credit on your bill. That's a part of net metering that we'll talk about. So you'll get a 1-to-1 retail credit. So you have an extra credit that you're sharing with the grid. You'll get a credit on your bill, and you can use that up when you're needing a lot of electricity or at night when you're not producing. So you use up that credit bank before you purchase from the grid. So that net metering helps you save money. That's the second way you save money. Those credits roll over month to month, kind of like old phone minutes used to use, until the end of the year, and then they're cleared out and you're paid at the wholesale rate. So system sizing is really important. You want to kind of get it to match your electricity bill over the whole year. So again, there's fluctuations throughout the year. And with net metered systems, it's really important to understand that formula. So production is really, really high in spring. It's not too hot. Heat's not really great for solar systems. The sun's getting higher. We're not using a lot. We don't have those afternoon storms. So we tend to make a lot of electricity and kind of build up our electricity bank in the spring. And then we use up those extra credits a lot in the summer. And then we start to make more. And then in December, we might, use up the rest. And then we're cleared out and start over the next year. So that's kind of how net metering works. And we have a great video. I'll share links for afterwards. So that whole system is automatic, and it's a system that we'll talk about the economics with. But if the power goes out through the grid, your system will shut down. This is required by law. It's automatic. It's a safety mechanism. So your energized generator, you basically have a generator on your roof, will not electrify the grid and hurt a line worker. So this is required by law and automatic. You don't have to worry about it. And if you want to use the electricity from your solar system in a grid outage, you need to capture it and store it. And so that storage is called batteries, battery storage. You can consider a fossil fuel generator if you want. They're cheaper overall, but in the long term, is that a choice you want to make? And do you have a reliable fuel source in those settings? So we have a lot of example after Hurricane Ian on getting fuel for generators. If you want to use solar and storage or battery storage, you want to look into that now in case you want to add batteries now or add batteries in the future. So right now, you want to consider it if you have frequent utility outages. So really, how often do you use power on a regular basis versus a storm season basis? Do you have really important loads? Loads are like usage. So do you have a well? Do you have medical equipment? Do you just want to be prepared and have this emergency that you really need it for health reasons to have some air conditioning in an outage? Right now, battery storage is not going to save you money. It's just backup power for you in an outage. We don't have time of use rates for most homes. We don't have big demand charges. We buy our electricity for the same amount any time of the day. So that might be coming, and you want to use batteries for self-consumption and things like that. But right now, you're not going to help the grid. You're not going to save money with battery storage. It's really for backup power. So I don't want to get too in the weeds with this. We actually have a great storage guide, solarunitedneighbors.org/storage, and a great website. We actually have a live webinar coming up March 23rd. So you can ask all your questions there. That's a Zoom one. Everything's available on our events page. Another big question that I get is about hurricanes and storms. Obviously, we have some experience from Hurricane Michael, where we had a co-op in the Panhandle just after the storm, Category 5 direct hit. And our installer there immediately used the NOAA photography and saw that all his systems were intact. So this picture is from Tyndall Air Force Base after it. You can see all the roof damage, but certainly not damaged where the panels were. So it's a real testimony to the strength. And certainly from Hurricane Ian, we gathered so many stories. This picture on the left, this is Gail, Phil, the cat, 4 cats, I think, and Fred the cockatoo in Naples Park. So they had the water coming in their house. They gathered all the animals, they put them in, they tried to get out in their car, and they opened the garage door and 3 feet of water was rushing in. Long story short, they were able to go to their neighbors on higher ground. They returned after about 10 days waiting, the power was restored and their solar system was intact. So we have many, many stories about the solar even protecting a roof from trees flying in it, or very few panels being flown off, but protecting the roof and being there and being intact through a hurricane. So if you want to pair that with battery storage, then you can easily discuss having a backup power that you can help yourself or your neighbors after the storm. But having this discussion now when you're thinking about going solar is really important, because it will involve what kind of inverter you're looking for and the size of your system. I'm going to quickly go through these. The warranties, there's 3 types of warranties. There's product manufacturer warranties that are pretty standard across the industry. They're 10, 12, or 25 years. So we're thinking long-term. Homeowners insurance, you shouldn't be denied for homeowners insurance. We're seeing, obviously, there's an insurance crisis. Some people, rates are going up. You want to have your panels insured so that if something falls on them, you can get them covered. You want to do this in advance. And we're big proponents of education, and people are having more and more trouble getting coverage for their insurance or how their rates are going up. So we can help you find solar-friendly insurance companies, but just do your homework ahead of time, and we're here to support. There is one insurance thing that has to do with larger systems over 10 kilowatts AC. So it's not that large for us, but the utilities require a $1 million liability homeowners policy for systems over 10 kilowatts. So it's something you're going to have to plan for if you want a tier 2 size system. We want to think about solar really like the investment that it is. Okay, so you're thinking about a car, it's a big expense. You think about an air conditioner, it's a big expense. You think about a new roof, it's a big expense. Those are not investments. They will not save you money over time. Solar is a big expense, but it will save you money over time. It really should be looked at like a retirement investment for a 25-year time period. Maintenance, no moving parts, so very low maintenance, extremely low maintenance. They last at least 25 years. They will keep working long past 25 years. There's panel degradation, but that's kind of the time frame that we do. Florida has a big solar rights law that no entity can prevent you from putting solar on your most productive surface. So we help a lot of people in historic districts or HOAs educate their board and work for solar-friendly policies. Little bit about the money. Costs have definitely dropped. They've halved in the last 5 years, but they're probably not going to get much cheaper. So it's a really excellent ROI. Most people pay off their systems in 8 to 12 years, and then the savings continue for at least 15 more. There currently is a 30% federal tax credit. I'll talk about that in a minute. The Investment Recovery Act, the IRA, that was 26 and was downgrading. They just renewed that up to 30% for the next 10 years. So solar systems, solar powered batteries are all eligible expenses for a 30% income tax credit. It's not a rebate and it's not a deduction. So you do have to make sure you have the liability. You can take it over multiple years. So if you are on a fixed income, you want to be sure you're asking about pricing, and this is before or after the tax credit, so you can make some informed decisions. We're going to talk about the project, the Southwest Florida Solar Co-op. These are kind of group purchases. They're time-based. We have one now in Collier and Lee County. And they help reduce the costs of going solar together because of how solar works. So an installer has the stuff, that stuff we talked about, the inverters, the wiring, the electrical work, the panels, combiner boxes. Those system components have dropped over time. Labor costs have dropped over time, but not for long. The labor costs are going up, obviously. Cost of fuel to go places is going up. The soft cost is that orange band is a huge part. This is permitting, this is research, this is all the travel, but most of it is lead acquisition. So the way a solar co-op works is we gather people in an area, they join a website, we give them a roof review, we give them education, and we bring them to a solar installer. So they're solar ready and they're informed. So that can really lower the cost of acquisition that an installer would generally be paying out. And they can pass those savings on to you for a really competitive price. The cool thing about a co-op is they're free, there's no cost to join, and you're not committed to go solar. That tax credit, like we talked about, is available 30% over the next 10 years. So with rising electricity prices and probably rising solar stuff costs, there's really no better time to go solar right now, especially since we have a co-op open. Another cool thing about the Inflation Reduction Act is it also allowed tax-exempt entities like churches, some nonprofits, some municipalities to apply to get this tax credit as a direct pay. So it's a game changer for nonprofits. So you want to make sure if you're in a club or an organization or the Boys Club or a temple or a church, faith-based organization, your Southwest Conservancy is interested in adding more solar, that they can now take advantage of this great incentive. I'm not going to go over this slide. Basically, this is our advisory board member's house and his neighbor's identical house. And they both have 26 panels that have different wattage. And they both have different % of their usage covered. So it really is there's no one size fits all. You're going to look at your electricity bill for the last year, and they're going to size the system if you want to offset all of that bill a little bit more or a little bit less. So that slide has to do with that. And I'm going to quickly run through this pricing chart with the nature of net metering. So we said that these are just some sample size. So if we took an 8 kilowatt size, and the average South Florida cash price for solar is about $250 a watt. We're seeing prices going up. But that's not retail pricing and it's not finance price. So if you took that $249 a watt times 8,000 watts, you get that $19,920 for the cost of everything: permitting, installation, interconnection. You take that 30% federal tax credit, that's subtracting $5,976 off the price of that. Your net cost for installing an 8 kilowatt system would be $13,944. And then the savings start. So these are really conservative savings. We haven't really updated with all our rate increases. So if in 1 year that 8 kilowatt system saves you $13.51, that's really low. It's going to save you a lot more than that now. And then you multiply that over 10 years of saving, it's going to save you $14,449. You might say like, hey, that's not 10 times 1,351. We calculate rising prices and then the degradation of the panel performance in that. So those numbers will be higher, but you can see in this example, by 10 years, you've paid off the cost of your system. And everything after that is savings. So this is cash-free savings by not purchasing the electricity from a utility. So if you're going to have a finance system and you're going to pay your finance bill, do you want to pay yourself on a loan in an investment that's going to stop in 10 years and everything else is savings? Or do you want to pay a monopoly utility or a rural electric co-op? So it's a really good investment. We see over 25 years in this example, $26,610 in savings. Your electric bill will always have a minimum bill now, FPL and connection charges and things like that. So we have options for financing. Cash is obviously the best return on your investment. Not everyone has cash for this kind of large thing. There are some REAP grants if you're a small business in certain zip codes. We have a great program on that. And you can go to solarunitedneighbors.org financing, and we have a great flyer that I will drop in the chat when we're done. But basically, you can go through the installer's financing. They might have a dealer fee. So those per watt prices are going to be different. Ask for a cash price, ask for an installed price. Do your homework. HELOCs, mortgages used to be the best deal, but those interest rates are going up. There's banks and credit unions. Climate First Bank is a new bank that's got a great solar loan. And then like Community First Credit Union, Clean Energy Credit Union. You're a member, by being a Sun member, you're a member of those credit unions, and you can look into their very quick, very easy solar loans. And then if you have unusual income or credit issues, SELF is Solar Energy Loan Fund. They're a CDFI. We work with them a lot. So they might have options for people who can't get traditional lending. So we can connect you with all these resources. The co-op, why join a co-op? You can go shop around on your own. We encourage you. We want to support you. We can help people with proposal group. This co-op is open right now through the end of April to homeowners and businesses in Lee and Collier County. So you're going to do this together. You're going to get value on your installation. You're going to get support from Sun. You're going to connect with all these other people and become part of this growing movement. The process is outlined here. We launched, there's like a sign up period where you can learn. So you guys already got a gold star, number one. You've already learned about solar working. If you want to join as a member, we'll review your roof. The sign up page is solarunitedneighbors.org/SWFL or /Lee or /Collier. Just put some numbers in there, you'll find us. We'll do that roof review, and then you'll get education from us and you can join more info sessions. We're currently in the installer selection. Keep in mind, Solar United Neighbors is vendor neutral. We do not make recommendations on the contractor. We cannot select a contractor. We actually put a request for proposal. Contractors bid to service the co-op. Those bids are coming in right now. We're processing. We check the licenses. We check recommendations. We check the spec sheet, and we present it in a spreadsheet to co-op members who signed up to be volunteer bid reviewers. So they're actually your members and your peers. We're going to join next week. They're going to get together in the evening and they're going to pour over all those bids. And they're going to look at the important things to the co-op members when they signed up. Is price important? Is having a local company important? Are warranties, its equipment, are their hiring practices important? And they're going to match that criteria and review all the bids. And they'll select one installer to service the group. So there'll be options. It'll be a per watt pricing. You'll have everything and you'll get a custom proposal at co-op pricing. Then you have 30 days to review your proposal. You are welcome to shop around. We encourage you to shop around and get 2 to 3 quotes. If you sign a contract, they'll send people out to measure your roof. It'll go into engineering, then we'll go into permitting, then you'll have your solar installed. Usually only takes 1 to 3 days. Then you'll be inspected, and then the installer will help you with interconnection to connect with the utility for that net metering. So that can take some time. That can take 6 weeks to several months, and we walk you through the whole way. And then hopefully we have a party where we can see everyone's success and get their feedback. So what's next? So join, learn, and share. If you're interested in going solar, solarunitedneighbors.org, SWFL, that QR code will get you to all of these links. So if you're thinking about going solar in this year, don't wait, it will close. Learn, we have lots more information sessions that are much longer than this. So we have one in Fort Myers, one in Sanibel. We have monthly Zooms. There was just one last night. There's one in April, and then we have the battery storage. And then just tell your friends, how did you find out about the sun, or how did you find out about this? Use it. Is it next door? Is it in an email? We can share with you social media graphics, any way to get the word out. And here's my contact, flteam@solarunitedneighbors.org for any kind of questions for Florida and solar. That's the best way to reach us and our team. And I will stop sharing my screen so we can answer your questions.
Well, thank you so much, Julia. I've heard these presentations in the past from other colleagues of yours, and yours is always the most succinct and well organized. And to tell everybody that I learned a lot about solar from FL Sun. So this is, I think, a really super important opportunity that we should tell all our friends and neighbors about, because as we know, when any home improvement that you make, you get 3 estimates. We all have our horror stories about Florida contractors. You have a whole learning curve just to understand what they're talking about, and are you getting a fair shake? And what Sun does is it sort of helps you. It creates a bunch of people that are all filtering that information, and the professionals at FL Sun are making sure that you're dealing with somebody that's reputable. So it takes a lot of the risk out of it. So it's a really great opportunity. I'm a strong proponent of doing this with co-op. So I'm very excited that you were able to do this presentation, and we're missing a bunch of people that signed up. I think they're going to watch it on video. As you know, all of our Y&Hows are recorded. So if you know of a neighbor that missed this or talks solar and you're like, I heard this great presentation, send them to our website. It will be on the Growing Climate Solutions under resources. We have a Y&How tab. We will add this presentation on. And without further ado, can we have everyone put their lovely faces up? And do we want to start some questions for Julia? Just wave your hand and speak up. Andy, you're the first one.
Hey, Anna. Julia, I got a couple questions for you. In terms of panel efficiency, I You didn't talk about the Tesla panels. I just wanted to know if you had any thoughts about them.
The actual Tesla, the tiles or their modules?
The modules.
Yeah.
And the tiles, the whole system.
So they generally have brand named another manufacturer. So they used to use Panasonic or sometimes Hanwha Q cells. So the spec sheet is the same from that manufacturer, and they now have a Tesla brand on them. But Tesla really makes great cars, electric vehicles, and they do make a great solar shingle. But there really is, just looking at the spec sheet, they're very comparable to the Hanwha and the Panasonic. In fact, they used to be the Hanwha and Panasonic.
Okay. Oh, you're speaking of let's switch over to the tiles, which basically is the roof.
Mm-hmm.
What's your feelings towards those?
Yeah, so we don't have a lot of experience, but with any technology, you need these pioneers. So we have a large community in our Florida listserv. It's like a Google group where we can track this. When we're talking about going solar and solar in a co-op, we're using very traditional modules like you see behind me on.
Right, yeah.
Now, Tesla Tiles is a solar roof. So if you're thinking you need a new roof and you want to combine them and put the PV and your tile together, you can consider using a Tesla solar roof. There are other brands like GAF is starting to make a shingle. We have a couple people who have installed Tesla roofs. They are very generous with their information. They are in Central Florida. So a lot of permitting districts do not have familiarity with how to permit this if they're in the high wind areas. You know, how am I going to measure this? How am I going to check your engineering on it? So that might be a little bit of a barrier. The timing is much, much longer. So you're going to have to plan very far out to schedule your Tesla roof. Some of the tiles are PV and some of them are blanks, you know, just so that there's edges and structural.
Not everything's producing.
Yeah, you want to look into that. So, you know, you can't just say compare the solar roof to your module system and pair, because you have to factor in how much is my roof going to cost me. People have different opinions about the aesthetics, but if you want to write to us, we can link you to a lot of people in our experience. So we need those pioneers and we need them to share the information so we can make all the technologies, you know, available.
Now, do you guys help out with the insurance side as well?
We do have a couple action items, and we are tracking a couple things in the insurance. So basically there's a couple buckets. So people are, you know, the insurance in Florida is just a nightmare. We're in the emergency room in crisis. So solar is just one part of that. So people's rates are going up and insurance companies are leaving, not writing policies for Florida or in certain regions. So adding solar might be a reason that they're just saying, no, we're not going to cover you. They can't really deny you for adding solar. It's just an appliance. It's a fixed asset to your roof. There is no increased risk. It actually protects your roof. It makes it stronger. So we're big into education. People are having trouble getting it covered under the storm. I certainly wasn't covered under storm, and I just asked my agent to shop around and found me another company. Some people are asked to be dropped. They're saying they're not going to cover you for net metering. Net metering is required by Florida statute. So utilities have to cover you for Florida. So if you experience that, we do have a tracking, that's insurance discrimination. And we do have an active case where we're tracking that with the industry. But really, we just want to help you go solar and have the best package insured. So we can help you with our listserv again of who's solar friendly, what are their rates, and we can quickly connect you to that.
Okay, thank you, Julia. Nice presentation.
Great questions.
Anyone else?
Hi, Myra. I was next to you at the solar climate, Myra.
Yes, that's indeed. I was interested in whether you've had two other co-ops done here in Florida. And do you have any kind of survey of the people that were in those co-ops and how they felt about the effectiveness of being a part of a co-op? What did it mean to them? Did it accelerate things, help them to make better decisions? I haven't done a thorough search of your website, so what I have seen, I didn't find anything that seemed to be specific.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I didn't come prepared with the stats, although we are preparing that because our bid review is coming up. Yeah, so we do send out a survey to all co-op members. So again, it's how many get returned. We don't just generally, we don't get a great return. We ask them questions about how do they value the co-op experience, whether they went solar or not, whether they went solar with the co-op installer or not. Did we add value to their process, as well as things like their review on the installer as well. And would they join another co-op if they didn't go solar? And would they recommend the co-op? So the co-op services from Solar United Neighbors are always, it's out of 5, it's always over 4. So we are highly ranked from the returns that we do have. Installers really vary whether they went solar or not, or the reason they were disqualified. So we do that. And then we also follow up if we can find people who find value but go solar outside the co-op. That's harder to track, but we actually track that. Maybe they served on the selection committee and they found another installer they liked. We follow that through and track them as well. So Sun has been ranked consistently high as value for education and expediting the process.
Excellent. I think that's important when you're doing your seminars, is to have that kind of testimonial result and the concrete survey results.
And also we go back every time we launch and interview other people so that we can get their quotes and follow up and see how it was. So we had a lot from the 2020 Southwest Solar Co-op who had solar and batteries and went through Hurricane Ian. So, and she was on the selection committee, and her son had solar but not batteries. So, you know, they kind of opened up their house to 3 households and made it through a long time afterwards.
Any other questions? Bridget? You're on mute, Bridget.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, it's my computer thing. If you move forward with this, how long does it usually take until you actually get your solar panel installed? Is it like a year, or do they give you a timeline?
It really depends on how fast you can move forward. It's a question we ask of all installers. We ask them from the date of signed contract, how long until you can be installing. So some things are fixed and some things are variable. So by the time you get a proposal with a co-op, we ask that you make a decision within 30 days. So the offer can't be extended. You know, they're very lenient on that. They'll go a few months. We do have a contract signing deadline. But if you sign a contract to go solar, if you can be available for that measurement, they could come very, very quickly just to check your roof trusses. It will go into engineering. Most companies are very short with engineering, you know, less than a couple of weeks, depending on their load.
Oh, wow.
It goes into permitting. So that depends on which authority having jurisdiction. So is it the city? Is it unincorporated? You know, is it Naples? Is it Coral Gables? And their backload. So that depends on the permitting agency. And then the installation is very quick. And then interconnection with FPL and Lee County Rural Electric Co-op have been very, very quick. So I think we broke a record the last co-op on rapidness from the time we selected an installer, the time we had our first contract, to the actual interconnection, which I call like your solar birthday. Because even though it's on, you're not making money off of it until that permission to operate date. And it was a month. But typically it's 3 months. It would be a typical situation. So keep in mind your permitting jurisdiction. Financing is going to make a difference. So if you've recently, you know, had some credit hits, that might take a little longer. If you're waiting and shopping around for your loan documents, that might take a little longer. And if you need a new roof. So many people are putting solar on with a new roof so that it matches the length. They don't have to take their solar off and put the roof back on. So it depends on how quickly you can get a new roof installed and coordinate it. And so installers know all of this. These are familiar. So they might say, sign a contract, put your deposit down, but we know we're not going to install for 7 months or you're a snowbird, we know we're not going to install till you're back down in the fall. Great question.
Any other questions? Anybody want to show their face on camera? If there aren't, I have one, and it is related a little bit to the battery issue, which you had said not that you were going to punt on until the battery. But one of the questions that I've had asked of me and I had no answer for was, if you get a battery system because you are looking for the emergency backup, the battery will probably only run your house for a day or two if you're running a bunch of different appliances. How much does the battery recharge even when the grid is down? Can you use your system to recharge the battery? And how much charge do you get during the day? Like, does that fill your battery enough to keep using it for all these appliances or not? Or do you basically use down whatever you've stored and then you're out in the dark like everybody else?
Good question. And there's kind of it's sort of quantity and longevity questions about charging and discharging. So batteries can be their size, just like your system. So they're going to ask a question like, when the way grid power is out, do you want to power your entire house? No, you want to power almost everything. So they're going to give you a lot of batteries. It's going to be very expensive, and they're going to size your solar panels for the sun to be shining. They're going to charge your whole batteries, and that it's going to be enough electricity to discharge and run your entire house, and then lower up, and then they'll recharge when the sun comes up. So they're sized to constantly be recharged. That's really expensive. Most people choose a critical load. It's like a sub panel. They say, I'm going to power a little mini split air conditioner, my refrigerator, my internet, some lights, and a couple fans. What I really need to be comfortable in a few rooms. And so that's less batteries, but the whole point of having solar plus storage is that the sun is always going to shine most days, fill up your battery, and it's going to be running off a battery to fully power those circuits without brownouts. So you're not going to just use the solar and the battery in your same system. You have like a secondary backup electrical circuit.
So essentially what you're saying is, if you do just the minimal services that you need to be comfortable, and you have a battery of that size, given that it's charging during summertime, you can fully charge your battery with a day of sun, and yes, and keep those essential services running. That we get enough sun during one day to fully charge that battery.
Yes, I mean,
that's
right
amazing.
now you're without batteries. Your system is usually sized to power your home's needs. A little less or a little more. So the same thing with the battery. The battery is sized to power those little surfaces, and the solar is sized to power that amount of battery.
Got it. Well, we're coming up on the top of the hour. Does anybody else have other questions or follow-up? Catherine, do you have a question? You're on mute. Hang on.
No question.
Okay. Anybody else have a question? Well, I hope that this has been informational and inspiring, and gets some people who are on the fence. It's a big decision, but we hope to get people over the threshold on this. What I do ask is, if you enjoyed the session, please post it on your social media. Tell people that in your circle that may be interested. Hey, I learned a lot about solar from Solar United Neighbors. Help spread the word. That's the one thing you can do today to help get more people on board. So
I just joined.
Yes, Michael?
I just joined.
Okay.
Done.
Awesome.
All right.
So with that,
my camera doesn't work. That's why I'm not on photo.
With that, just look out for our email. We'll do a follow-up with a link to this so that you can actually link it to your friends. Watch it again if you want. And also just keep spreading the word about that. Like us on social media, tell people about the Y&How. Then the last one for 2023 is April 5th. Put that on your calendar so that you learn how to reduce your food waste. And with that, hope everyone has a wonderful afternoon. Julia has her information on. You can look up FL Sun Southwest Florida Co-op if you want to follow up with her. Thank you so much, Julia, for your valuable information.
You're welcome. Let's go solar together.
Solar together.